We speak to a man known as Cassard, who is a caravan merchant. Upon giving him the letter the Exarch gave us, he allows us to ride along with him to Amh Araeng. It is here that we can finally reunite with Alisaie.
Amh Araeng. From this parched earth, the nation of Amh Araeng once rose. When I journeyed here, long ago, I spoke with a sun-weathered elder. He told me Amh Araeng meant majestic land in the language of his people. And so it might still be, were it not for the light's unrelenting onslaught.
He takes us to Qasir Shari, which was originally meant to be a fortress which protected the northern reaches of Amh Araeng. This place was one of Norvrand's strongest nations, but once the flood of light came, most of its lands were swallowed by the light, including its capital. Those who survived left this place behind. Nobody comes to visit here these days, as it is one of the most dangerous places to live. We were to be taken to the inn at Journey's Head, which is where Alisaie is said to be situated, but it's quite a far distance, so instead Cassard recommends we take a short detour to Mord Suk. This would allow him to do business here, whilst we enjoy some of the local hospitality. Just as the name suggests, Mord Suk is mainly run by the Mord, which if you remember, are the kobolds. But there are more than just the Mord here. This is a place of refuge for the folk who have been displaced by the flood. As a newcomer, we have to respect the customs of this place, which is that we need to purchase one item here, no matter the price. The Exarch left us with a gold Vobert coin, a coin that was thought to be extinct. The kingdom of Vobert was a nation that existed on the first, but it collapsed due to the flood of light. In the present day, the lands around its former capital city of Vobertenburg have become Ilmeg, and the castle that once housed the royal family, known as Gwenez Licht, has become home of the fairy king Titania. We spend our coin at Ronron's stall, specifically buying meat so that we may have a full belly for our travels to come. We do some extra tasks for Cassard, but he ends up being bogged down by an incorrect order. Luckily for us, Tesleen is in the markets, and she is from the same inn where Alisaie is. She has heard a lot about us from Alisaie herself. She is more than willing to bring us over to her neck of the woods. We head south from Mord Suk and cross the desert, which leads us to Journey's Head. This place is extremely run down. These tents are made with cloth that is tattered and torn. There is barely any shelter from the harsh colds of Amh Araeng. It's not a lot, but it's their home, for the afflicted and the carers. The afflicted? She doesn't really know how to respond to that. Her whole life she has known of the afflicted, so she doesn't want to miss out any obvious details in her explanation, and instead proposes that we talk to Alisaie about it. She is currently out for patrol. She usually does her routes near the watchtower to the south. While there, we do not see her, but we do see small footprints that would resemble hers. We follow them, and whilst looking for her, we spot a stray Sin-Eater, but right behind it, we spot Alisaie jumping off of the roof. In a couple of seconds, she defeats the Sin-Eater. Quite impressive. Though she says it is nothing to write home about, it was only a lesser Sin-Eater. She knew we would turn up eventually, but she had hoped it was sooner. In the end, she is happy and relieved to see us fit and well. We tell her about everything that has occurred since she left, but to be honest, not much has transpired since then. She only left us midway through the war. She would love for nothing more than to return home to our allies, but we cannot. They could not reverse the summoning, and more importantly, they haven't found a way to stop the 8th Umbral Calamity and our death. Before we return home, we must stop the rejoining. To save the first from its calamity, we must eradicate the Sin-Eaters. This gigantic wall of crystal is a remnant of the flood. 100 years ago, the first aspect began to turn into primarily light. It swelled until one day it burst, creating a wave of pure light. It drowned everything in its wake. Only Norvrand was saved by the Oracle of Light. Every living thing is composed of ether of varying aspects. However, when exposed to the flood, their etheric harmony is shattered and their natural form breaks down. That is how Sin-Eaters are created. They were once living creatures, or people, who were caught in the path of the flood. Once the transformation is complete, all traces of a person's existence is gone. They turn into mindless abominations who are gripped by an insatiable appetite for mortal ether. The tragedy doesn't end here. The strongest sin eaters can plant light into people, like seeds in soil, corrupting our aether and triggering a birth of a new monstrosity. Their base instincts are to feed and to multiply. They feel no pity, know no remorse, and are deaf to reason. Therefore, they must be eradicated. Journey's Head is an infirmary. It is the place where the victims of sin eaters spend the rest of their final days waiting for the change to take over them. That is what Tesleen meant by the afflicted. It's just a matter of time for the patients. In the end, they will all become abominations. She has stayed here as it is a good training ground. It has also broadened her knowledge of the Sin Eaters, which is knowledge she will now share with us. The lesser Sin Eaters are quite weak, but like the Void Scent, they flock to stronger Sin Eaters. When a strong Sin Eater goes out on a hunt, a swarm of weaker ones will accompany it. Just imagine the damage they could cause if they were to descend upon a village. We report to Tesleen, and she wants us to help her with some of her patients while she goes out to the markets, just to make sure that their skin isn't covered with sand and such. We tend to poor Nil, Todden, and Halric. These people are the afflicted. You can see where the transformation has already taken effect, such as their hair and skin being turned white. Especially with Halric. He seems to be the furthest along in his transformation. The texture of his skin is hardened into something akin to plaster. Alisaie wants to bring us to Mord Suk, as there is something she wants to show us, and whilst there, Tesleen wants us to get one nectarine from Ronron. We get the nectarine from Ronron for free, as he doesn't believe what he has given us is worth enough to pay off the Vobert coin. Alisaie also purchases a jar of honeyed worms, though they are not for herself, but to bribe a guard and allow us access to the guard tower. She wanted to bring us here so that we could see it with our own eyes. There is a hole in the wall of light, and behind that wall you can see the lifeless wasteland that lies behind it, which is known as the Empty. Life cannot exist behind that wall because the light destroys the etheric balance of the body. Most of the afflicted have survived attacks by powerful Sin Eaters, but even as we speak, their very essence is being absorbed by the light. Under normal circumstances, a person's aether would return to normal, but for the afflicted, the opposite is true. No matter what, every single one of them will turn. Everyone at Journey's Head knows what needs to be done before the Sin Eater within them takes over. They mix poison into their favorite food. The nectarine that Tesleen asked us to get, they are Halric's favorite fruit. I doubt I need to explain further than that. It isn't just the threat posed by them turning into Sin Eaters. The transformation itself seems to be excruciating. The carers care for their patients and would spare them the suffering. It is their only way of fighting back against a fate worse than death. We need to head back to Tesleen. The longer we keep her waiting, the harder this will be for her. But when we arrive, she and her colleagues have decided to give Halric a little more time. But now she has the nectarine, it means that if the time comes, they will be prepared to send him off with a taste of happier days. Tesleen wants to lighten the mood a little and decides that we need to wipe that gloomy look off of our faces, and she does this by making a stew for us to enjoy. She hasn't had a visitor from the Crystarium since Alisaie came, so she made this stew extra special. In that case, we'll have another bowl. That's what she likes to hear. In a place like this, you start to take what moments of happiness you can get. The mood is quickly soured again when Tesleen reminisces about the past. She came here with her mother when she first started to show signs. She knew she couldn't be saved, and she knew what needed to be done, yet she couldn't do it. So they came here to join the other beaten and broken souls who stayed here to wait out the inevitable, to receive the mercy of a painless death. Though Tesleen was stricken with grief after her passing, there was some comfort in knowing that she went peacefully. It's not easy ending a life you've cared for, even if you're sending them off to a better place. She wishes that the Warrior of Darkness would come and do that part for her. The Warrior of Darkness? It is a tale that every child in Northrend knew. The version she was told went as follows. Warrior of darkness, servant of death, take care of our souls at our dying breath. Let sinners and eaters of sin go with thee, that all may return to the sunless sea. Tesleen has always been fond of the tale, as she liked the idea that he treated every soul the same, even the sin-eaters. All of the afflicted begin acting strangely. They can sense something. A carer rushes over to us. She only took her eyes off of him for a moment as the patients distracted her, but in that moment, Halric has gone missing. Instantly we spread across the desert. Tesleen takes to the east, Alisaie will take to the north and west, and we cover everything to the south. We find some stray sin-eaters, but no sign of Halric. We manage to meet up with Alisaie, and she hasn't found anything either. But the sin-eaters are out in force. If we don't find him, they surely will. Before we can even think about what she said, a humanoid sin-eater unlike any other we have seen flies overhead. Even Alisaie remarks about its size. We decide to follow it, and after we see it land, we see it standing right before Halric. It raises its blade, ready to strike him down, but just in the nick of time, Tesleen slices off its wing. She rushes over to Halric, trying to make him move, but the strike meant for Halric finds its destination in Tesleen's back. The blade of light pierces right through Tesleen. She drops her weapon, unable to hold it any longer, but all she can do is smile, knowing that Halric is alive. We all deserve happiness, wherever we can find it. The time left to you is precious. No one should die in pain. In her final moments, she calls out to her mother. The sin-eater withdraws its blade from her back. As this is a stronger sin-eater, it has placed light into her body, throwing her etheric harmony off course, causing it to shift to light. Her eyes widen as she stares at the wound left behind by the sin-eater. It is radiating with light. Her heart races as she starts screaming in agony. More and more of her being is being covered by the blinding light until she cannot contain it anymore and vomits light from her mouth as her body is trying to expunge the extra light in any way it can. But it is not enough. She raises her head and her pupils have completely disappeared, leaving behind only pale, white eyes. The light swells and seeps through every orifice on her body, streaming from her eyes like tears, until eventually it clumps up, turning her entire being into that of light. Like a caterpillar getting ready to undergo metamorphosis, she is placed into a cocoon. It begins to sway as the thing inside of it is being formed. Light radiates from it and the cocoon splits open, revealing the horror that Tesleen had been turned into. The now sin-eater Tesleen leaves with the angelic sin-eater that turned her, leaving behind Halric. All we could do was watch as this horror unfolded in front of us, as we were too far away to do anything. For the first time, we can see what the sin-eaters are truly capable of, and how they have become the calamitous threat they are. Alisaie is truly at a loss for words after what occurred. She has told the rest of the carers what happened to Tesleen, but she cannot be their shoulder to lean on. Instead, we go around providing any comfort we can. Kasana just can't believe it is true. It is so unfair. Tesleen was always cheery with the patients, telling them not to be scared, that there wouldn't be any pain. Of all the people in this world to suffer such a fate. Wilfort doesn't have the words to describe how he feels. Without a body, they can't even give her a proper burial. And she was the one who cared about that sort of thing, to allow people the chance to say their final goodbyes. We tell Alisaie that we have spoken to the carers. She thanks us for what we are doing. It means a lot to everyone here at Journey's Head. The carers join us. Though it seems inappropriate, they thank us for going out there to save Halric and had hoped that we weren't hurt too. Alisaie only blames herself. We didn't have the time to be hurt, as we weren't there for the fight. She was too late, too slow, and to think that she thought she could protect them. But she can't keep blaming herself for things that are beyond her control. Because of us, Halric has been brought home safe and sound. Nobody in this place could have done that. She thinks for a moment before announcing that she will no longer be continuing her role here. Instead, she aims to deal with the light. It's the reason we cannot save those who are corrupted by the Sin-Eaters. Even if we could slightly correct the balance, it would surely make things better. But to do that, we'd have to change the world. And that's what we'll be aiming to do. She'll return with us to the Crystarium. There, we can strike a plan and investigate how to stop this relentless light. We take the swiftest Amaro from Amh Araeng to the Crystarium, and we instantly leave for the Ocular to meet with the Exarch in Alphinuad. We have now grasped a better understanding of the conflict faced by the First. Some lands have been spared of the flood, but the survivors live to only be blighted by the Sin-Eaters. They are a calamitous level threat that need to be dealt with, which may seem like an impossible task, but over the years they have found a certain weakness. Sin-Eaters are drawn to the strongest of their kind. They are known as Light Wardens. Only a few of them exist. They believe that the death of a Light Warden will cause the lesser beasts to disperse. If we were to do that, Ul'dah would have something to say about it, as Vorthru's command over the Sin-Eaters is integral to Ul'morean society. He will not take kindly to us depriving him of allies. Which is exactly why the Exarch will distract his forces elsewhere as we slay the Warden. Until the Wardens are slain, all other considerations must be set aside if we are to stop the 8th Umbral Calamity. Are you sure that eliminating the Wardens will be enough? Perhaps a more detailed explanation is in order. In ancient past, a single star was split into 14. There is the source, our star. Then there are the 13 reflections. The one we are currently on is known as the first. Though they are physically separate, they still retain a connection with each other, with the source especially. Now let's assume that one of the shard's aspects shifts into an abnormal amount of an element. The ether will start to overflow from the shard and trickle into the source. That ether does actually affect the source as well. If it were fire, then there may be droughts. If it were ice, one might expect the weather to turn cold. As ether continues to pour in, the phenomena would become more frequent and more extreme, until eventually an event triggers the disaster on the source, cracking the barrier which divided the two worlds. The trickle of ether turns into a wave. The source absorbs all of it along with the shard. Thus, a shard has been rejoined with the source. At the same time, the element which took over the shard is unleashed in its full power, which would amplify the original disaster to catastrophic proportions. For example, an earthquake could be magnified to shatter continents, or a tidal wave could become capable of drowning an entire nation. These events are also known as Umbral Calamities. So far, 7 shards had been rejoined to the source, and we mean to stop the 8th. Currently, the first is meeting the conditions to fulfill a rejoining. The Sin-Eaters are the ones who are extending light's dominance. Light Wardens radiate ether, which covers every corner of their territory with light. Even though the flood was stopped, the Light Wardens have enough power to take away the night sky. So if we are to stop the 8th Umbral Calamity and bring balance back to the first, then we need to defeat every Light Warden. They have been taking the fight to the Sin-Eaters ever since, but had to wait for our arrival before they could put any plans into motion, as the Light Wardens have some ability that they couldn't deal with. Lena interrupts our meeting. Apparently Holminster Switch is requesting reinforcements. The Sin-Eaters are attacking in force, and the village could soon be overrun. Alisaie and Alphinuad have run off ahead, but the Exarch tells Lena to stop them from entering Holminster until he has arrived. If we lend them our strength in this battle, then it will offer us far greater explanations than he ever could. The Exarch guides us to Holminster Switch personally, and we meet up with Lena and the others here. Beyond these gates lie a wood. Going through that wood will bring us to Holminster Switch. According to Lena, the town is already being swarmed by Sin-Eaters, more than they have seen in recent years. They evacuated all the civilians they could, but so far less than half remain. Based on the number of Eaters present, we believe a Light Warden is leading the attack. This will give us ample opportunity to slay a Light Warden. Lena cannot believe what she is hearing. One does not simply slay a Warden. Have you not heard what happens when you defeat one? They hold more light than all of their underlings combined. When it is killed, its aether won't dissipate. Instead, it will find the nearest living being and turn them into a new warden. The Exarch states that she can leave that part to us. Tell the guard to stand down and allow us to fight the Light Warden alone. We must concentrate on saving every life we can. Holminster Switch, an idyllic settlement in the northern reaches of Lakeland, a tranquil village where folks spend their days raising livestock and tending to crops. A ripe target for a Light Warden and its swarm of voracious sin-eaters. Reports of a bloody carnage have reached the Crystarium, and the guard has deployed in force in answer to Holminster's plea for aid. The Crystal Exarch has need of our strength, for this is no skirmish with a stray abomination. To triumph against the Warden would be to strike a telling blow in the unending war for the first survival. Many of Holminster's civilians have been attacked by sin-eaters. We can see countless cocoons spread throughout the village. Unborn sin-eaters lay within. On our path, we find the same sin-eater who turned Tesleen into a monster before our very eyes. This time, we'll stop it. We defeat it, and we can see the fields of Holminster. There are dead bodies everywhere the eye can see. The innocents have been massacred and turned into sin-eaters, who will then massacre more innocents. A never-ending cycle that will not cease until we put the Light Warden to the sword. We come across a familiar sin-eater. It is Tesleen, or was Tesleen. With sorrow in our hearts, we have to do battle with her, so that she may finally rest in peace. Eventually we come face to face with the Light Warden of Lakeland. It has manacles which clasp around its 4 limbs. It is said to be remnants of its mortal life. An elf was once held prisoner within the hour of certain durance. It descended upon its home village and devoured its former neighbors. The name Philia was bitterly bestowed to the Light Warden, meaning brotherly love. The Light Warden is defeated. It loses its physical form. Lena starts to panic, telling us that we need to fall back, but the Exarch states that it won't be necessary. For a century, these Light Warden have been nothing but a thorn in our side. When it is defeated, another one rises up with the same ether of the one that was relinquished. But today, we have someone who can contain that corruption. The blessing of light, and the hero who wields it. The blinding light lays before us. It trickles into our being until it joins with us fully. The light radiates from our body, but we manage to control it and send a beam towards the sky. We cleave the sea of light in two, allowing us to see the night sky once more. The people in the Crystarium begin to gather, looking heavensward at the night sky. They don't believe what they're seeing. It was only a fairy tale to them. The sunless sea is no more. The warrior of darkness has come. Lena questions who we are. We have no history. We show up one day, kill a warden, and bathe in its ether like it was a spring shower, and now we've returned the night sky. Then the legends must be true. The Exarch kneels before us. How long has he waited for this moment? For one possessed of her blessing. For us. We have vanquished the Light Warden of Lakeland, and for the first time in a century, darkness has returned to the mantle of night. Without ever-present light to sustain them, the Sin-Eaters will have no choice but to retreat. Though darkness has returned here, there are other wardens who still bask beneath their sunless sea. He begs us to continue the fight to its conclusion. By saving the first, we will also save the source, cast down the wardens, and restore the darkness to the first. I will become the warrior you need. We will continue to fight by his side until every last Sin-Eater is slain. How quickly we have justified the faith he placed in us. So many lives have been saved, and the night sky itself heralds our success. It may only be a single victory in a larger struggle, but it's a momentous occasion nonetheless. Now for how we proceed from here. The Exarch wants us to conceal our involvement in this endeavor for the time being. If we were to come forward as being the warrior of darkness, then it may throw the Crystarium into disarray. We don't do what we do for fame, so we don't mind concealing it. With that settled, the Exarch will return and address the people. These explanations will require a lot of his time, therefore we are free to rest and recover from these exploits. To think that you do not need to shut your windows tonight to have a peaceful sleep. We enter our room in dependence. We open the window, the same as we did before, but this time we are instead comforted by the night sky. Ardbert appears again. So it's our turn to be the warrior of darkness. Funny how that works. Has he been watching us all of this time? He did say he was going to. He followed us to Yulmore, then to Amh Araeng. Then he was there as we slew the Light Warden. He asks about the twins who were with us. He remembers them from the source. If they are our friends, through thick and thin, then he recommends we keep them close. It's when we charge ahead, trying to save someone else, that you end up losing those you love. Not that we need telling, he'll bet that we've lost plenty. But he wonders, what will it cost us this time? He doesn't remember when he learned that regret wasn't worth the bother. You become numb to it over the years. The lost comrades, the broken promises, the abandoned principles. Just more nagging burdens to ignore. Under the same night sky, an unknown girl is looking towards it. She had always been curious to know what lied under the sunless sea. If the sky has returned, then it means that he is here, and that she must go to him. Meanwhile, inside an Imperial magitek facility on the source. The facility is on high alert, the alarms are triggered, and the Imperials are looking for an intruder. The intruder is Estinian. He is running out of the facility and hits a familiar figure. He is about to take her life, but Gaius tells him to stop. He isn't his enemy. He wondered why the alarm went off. It seems like they weren't the only intruders. He assumes that this is Estinian, as his armor is quite distinct. It seems like Estinian knows that this is also Gaius. This is because he is working with the Scions, and they have given him information about him. If the Scions have recruited freelancers, then it means that we cannot save those who were afflicted. But what of the champion? He is away, and it has fallen to him to destroy any trace of the Black Rose. They have already destroyed all of the tanks here. However, this is only one factory. They have built more facilities to ensure production continues. If they use it, there will be no one left, no citizens to conscript, no skills to exploit, nothing the Empire needs, and they will call it a victory. The Black Rose is a gas that is described as poison, but its actual effects is more akin to arcane. It was created to disrupt the ether in living beings, to bring the flow of their life energies to a standstill. Inhaling even the tiniest amount will cause all bodily functions to stop working. If it were to be released over a city, it would kill every inhabitant without having to step foot into the city itself. He has an offer for Estinian, but he will only make it once. Since both of their goals align, he is welcome to join them. From what Estinian hears, he's going to need all the help he can get. Varys confessed the Ashians created his empire. He is well aware of it, and he means to return to Garlemald so that he might behold the truth of the corruption with his own eyes.